What's the worst thing a friend has ever done to you? Well, this one time I got way too drunk. As good friends, they stayed with me and called the cab to go home. They're home. I woke up in a cab, with the driver asking me to pay for the ride. I had to pay 2 rides, that one and the other to my home, and got a lecture about what is friendship and how they were awful friends from the cab driver. Told me he needed $600 because he was being chased after by drug dealers and all. He was crying his eyes out and promised he would quit the drugs and everything. I knew it must have been serious since he busted into my work to tell me. Well, it turned out he lied and spent my money on drugs. I cut off all connections with the guy. Right after I got engaged, my fiancé and I were hanging out with a friend. We had just told him the news of our engagement. I had a nasty cold, and he offered me some cold medicine. Unknown to me, it was the PM kind that's supposed to help you sleep, and I started getting drowsy and drifting off. I woke right up when I heard my friend, thinking I was completely out, start trying to talk my new fiancé into having sex with him. I stayed still until I heard her answer. Turns out I picked the right woman and the wrong friend. We got the out and I haven't spoke to him in years until recently, when I found out he'd gone sober and did a lot to clean his life up. Good for him, but I'm still. She went over to a popular girl down the street's house. I walked to her house to see if she was home. Her mom sent me in that direction with snacks and Capri Suns. I walked to the girl's house and they both answered the door, and when the popular girl saw it was me, she said, "Do you know this loser?" My friend said no and slammed the door in my face. I took the back way home and cried the whole time. Stopped off at her mom's house to give the snacks back, and said sorry for drinking 2 Capri Suns. She made me come inside and explain what happened. Her mom made her come home and apologized to me. She started crying and said she felt so bad, but the damage had already been done. I gave her a hug, thanked her mom and went home where I cried myself to sleep. This was when I was about 11 or 12. Still makes me cry retelling it. My friend texted to say she needed to call me about her wedding. I thought she was going to ask me to be in it, but instead she told me I can't go. You see, my mom died within the last year, and I can't be bringing bad luck to her joyous occasion. We're all Asian, and she goes in for these superstitions. They spent a lot of time picking the luckiest date, for example. She'd still send me the invitation, as she didn't want to be rude, after all, but I wasn't allowed to go. When I received the invitation, I just threw it away instead of responding that I wouldn't be attending. I sure showed her. Never lending video games to friends again. In grade 8 I lent Pikmin to my classmate Hannah at the beginning of the school year. A week later she said she finished it, so I asked for it back. She said okay, I'll bring it in tomorrow. She didn't bring it in, she forgot. I pestered her to bring in my game for the entire school year, but she kept forgetting despite me sending her Facebook messages every night. Finally, the last day of the year before summer break she brought it in. I was coming up to her to grab it, but she thought better to throw it at me instead. I wasn't prepared to catch it, so it dropped on the floor. All she said was "nice catch," unenthusiastically, and walked away. This is probably not going to sound too terrible, but when I was 13 years old I had a friend group of 5 and myself, and one who I considered my best friend was my neighbor. Each morning we would walk to school together. One morning he told me to go on ahead whilst he tied his shoes. I did so, then he walked a different way to me so he didn't have to walk with me. This happened for a week until we left school for summer. On the night after we had broken from school I get a MSN message from my group of friends who are all at the same house. It says, "We don't want to be friends with you." I had no friends all summer. As teenagers, found my diary at my birthday party and proceeded to read it aloud to everyone in the room. As adults, started a relationship with the guy she knew I had a huge crush on, and then asked me for advice on how to break up with him 8 weeks later when she got bored. She actually asked me to proofread the breakup email she was going to send him.